after putting money aside to go see her parents during the holidays. My mail said, "Oh, the load finally comes." My wife. That made them laugh and unpack without me. I slept in the basement last night with no heat. The next day, they turned off the water. Day I got up early and mailed something to that made them call me were her parents, tears beseeching me not to. I'm 38. My name is Cole, and I've been married for 4 years. Years to a woman named Trish, who is 34 years old. Makes soaps from home and things for your skin. I'm a mechanic. I've lived in Kansas my whole adult life. It hasn't always been easy living in the city, but I've really worked hard to keep us going. Let me tell you about this past. I can't explain what Christmas did to me. Trish's parents live in a small village outside of Asheville, NC. I haven't seen them much since we broke up. Got married every holiday. Trish flies. When I go home to spend time with them, I stay put and work. Flights cost a lot. They've never offered to help with take a trip or stay put. Trish always said it. Not about them. It's just that they're old school. They aren't warm enough. I thought I told her I did last year. She made me want to go with her. I had worked hard, of extra hours, worked inside jobs, skipped nights out, and finally had enough money. I even saved extra money for both of us to fly. A temporary car and some Christmas presents. I felt good about myself. Could finally afford without going broke. Trish gave me, I must have said something wrong because I got that weird look. After some thought, she said, "Okay, I'll do that." I asked if we should let them know. She told him, "No, that would be wrong. Do not be rude. You are staying with us." All I had planned to be there, that's for sure. I wished I could be a part of her. There would be family, too. It might not be perfect. It would be better than having another Christmas by myself. Man, I was. We arrived on December 22nd, which was wrong. It was after 9:45 p.m. when we got there. Rented a car and went through the hills to get to her parents' house. It was almost midnight and cold outside. Those were all over her mom's house. Large, old-fashioned lights, and I had a flower on the door, and both our bags, a tote bag and a tin of made her mom cookies and a small gift. Gift bag with all the gifts I bought. When we walked in, Cheryl's mom was already there. With a glass of red wine in the kitchen, her hair was pulled back and her face looked tired. She wasn't interested. She looked I thought for a second, and then said, "Oh, the last but not least, the burden comes." No smile, no welcome, no warmth. I froze. I thought I might have heard her wrong. Trish? She just laughed, that same weak laugh. When she doesn't want to call, someone out. She didn't. Stand up for me, don't look at me. Then she grabbed her, packed my bags and walked upstairs, left me standing there in their stupid hallway with 5 bags like I wasn't anyone willing to help. The delivery guy, Warren, her dad, was sitting watching college basketball in a chair. He looked at me and grunted. Cheryl walked back as she turned back to the TV. I was standing in the kitchen when she came in. I finally followed the noise there above. Trish was already putting things away. I asked where I was in the guest room meant to sleep, she said without. Mom looked at me and said, "The guest room's taken. You'll be downstairs," I told her. "What do you mean taken?" she asked. "Aunt Lizzie could be coming over with her. Mom said it would be better if you took the basement." This basement wasn't done. After seeing it the last time, saw it for a day. The floors were made of concrete. Out in the open pipes and an old twin mattress, I asked while sitting on a metal frame if she said, "Just, if it gets cold, put on your jacket." I slept on that couch last night. No sheets, just my coat and a thin blanket. I could see my breath when the end was folded. I texted Trish that there was no heater. Answered, "Try to get through it just to a few days." I woke up the next morning with a scratchy throat and a bad back. I went upstairs cold and wanted to. It turns out there was no need to brush my teeth. There was running water down there. Turn off the basement pipes because they didn't want to. Freeze, so I did. I had to go upstairs and ask Cheryl if I could. She looked at me like she needed to go to the bathroom. Like Trish, I asked to use her toothbrush, was on the couch and didn't say anything. Christmas Eve she was looking through. Her phone. We sat down at the table together, for Cheryl poured wine for everyone at dinner. Trish didn't even notice, though. It's hard to say what else she did after dinner. They watched old home movies on VHS. From when Trish was young, they laughed. Told me inside jokes I wasn't in on not any of it. But Cheryl made sure I could tell when she said things like, back when family meant something. Or, those were the good old days before everything this silly current stuff. I sat there. Still, no one asked me about work. Life nothing I gave on Christmas morning, I brought all of these gifts for Cheryl. A scarf made by hand by a neighborhood artist. To Warren, a signed copy of his for Trish, a favorite baseball player has been necklace she had talked about for months. I had saved money in secret for. They opened. Not said anything about them being. Like junk mail, Cheryl even said, "You didn't," when she thanked you. "You really didn't have to do this," they said. It was dinner time, and everyone had steak. Chicken cold chicken. I looked at Cheryl. "Didn't expect you to still," she said. "Be here and make enough for the rest of us." She laughed a little, but I got up and left it for me. The table quietly packed my things. Went outside and called an Uber. Trish didn't even knock on the door. I flew home. She didn't call early the next morning. Didn't text for 3 days. Then she sent a message. "I hope you got home safely." I looked at it for an hour. I thought of something I had saved emails for voicemails, photos, and more from Cheryl little jabs and rude words over the years things. She sent to me by mistake. I left Trish one message instead of certain place where she called me and laughed about how disgusting she was, eagerly anticipating Trish's awakening. I had no plans to use them, but I put everything on a flash drive. Now, wrote a letter that was calm and honest. No, I sent it all in a box. To Lacey, Cheryl's sister, who was said to be coming but never did, too. A few days later, Cheryl called. There were no fake tears this time. In tears, she begged me not to. Her brothers said, "Send it to anyone else." Not sure, said it would make her bad. Then when Warren called, it sounded like he was crying. Also said he felt bad and that they went it was too far, so I didn't answer Trish's calls for a while, and then I wrote, "You saw them treat me badly." It was enough that you laughed. I know, after I sent that message to Trish, she didn't answer right away. After a few days, she finally texted, "You're being too dramatic." It was just we all had a rough time. I looked at my phone for a long time. I wrote back, "You saw them put down me, you didn't say anything, you laughed. Not a bad visit. That was a choice." She didn't answer after that. There was silence for almost a week. At 11 p.m. one night, she showed up I heard her key turn in our room. I was sitting on the couch when the door opened shakily. She stood in the doorway and didn't get up. Her makeup was smudged, and she looked tired. It looked like she was crying, but I no longer cared. She said, "We need to talk." I didn't say anything. She came in set. She put her bag down and sat down next to me. I had no idea what it would be like. That she said, "I saw her right away. You didn't stand up for me when my mom made fun of me and you saw me sleep in. You didn't care that the basement was cold. Looked at her hands and said, 'My mom's hard to deal with.' You know that I said no. You let her be mean, be mean." She didn't answer. Over the next things got tense for a few days, so she stayed in. I stayed out on the couch in the bedroom, hardly talked. Then one morning I saw something was open on her laptop on the table for 8. She was in the shower, wasn't going to look, but something caught my eye. It was an email from Subject. "Don't let him feel guilty." I clicked on it, and Cheryl was in it, telling Trish not to let Coal Power, her. She told him that he wants to change this. He's turning himself into a pity game. The victim. Don't fall for it. Said if he tells anyone that crap, he would have done something else, but he won't. He's too not strong enough to follow through. She ended it with, "You'll be sorry if you stay with him." He'll always drag you down. That email made sense, not only was Cheryl dangerous. Trish was still picking her eye. I didn't talk to her right away, instead began digging. I looked at our shared. Some strange charges were made to my bank account. From the week she spent in North Carolina, hotel reservations and meal bills going to the spa. I looked up the places. They weren't near her folks' house, so did you really stay? I asked her in a calm voice. At your mom's house the whole time? What? He asked. I asked the question again. Why does it matter? She asked in defense. Because you let me freeze in a basement while you were getting into a 4-star spa 30 miles away, she said, and yelled, Are you now spying on me? No, I said. I'm waking up. She stopped moving. Then I asked, Who are you with? I went to the bedroom because they didn't answer. Grabbed her bag and threw it away. Onto the floor of the hall, find where it's not here where you want to go next. I pointed at the door, and she didn't move. A few hours after she left, I got a call. Number not known. It was her mom again, but she wasn't crying this time. What the hell did you tell them? Leslie? She snapped. I didn't say anything. You think it's smart to send out secret messages? You believe that makes you... I told him. No, but it makes I am the man who has finally stopped taking. I hung up after that. The next day, I looked through my email and found something. It was interesting because it came from Cheryl's sister. Lizzie wrote, Cole, I got your letter, and the files I think you've always had. I thought Cheryl wasn't telling the truth. About you. I never liked how she talked about you behind your back. Thank good for you for telling the truth. Better, I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. Before I sat down, I gave that some time to sink in. I finally had someone believe me. But it wasn't even the twist that hurt the most. 2. A few weeks later, I was at work when my friend Kyle came over to my desk and gave me. Hey, he told me. Isn't this? Your wife? It was a Facebook. Pictured Tracy holding hands with a guy in front of a house in the same North Carolina, and the text said, New starts a new piece. It was shared by he was named Lucas, and I had no idea who I knew what the hell he was. This meant Trish didn't just leave me. She had been planning how she would feel something else behind my back, and now I knew how far it went. So there it was, a picture of Trish with a guy named Lucas, together in front of a rented cabin only 2 weeks after she walked. I couldn't stay in our room any longer. I couldn't stop thinking, this guy was likely with her at that holiday trip while I was stuck in a eat cold chicken in the basement while I tried to make things right with her family. She was outside making something, knew she wasn't interested in him anymore. She had already moved on. Not even wait until the divorce was over. I felt as sick as the floor below me. Had gone away, but it didn't end there. After my shift that night, I drove home. When I got to the room, it was different for sure. But also, I went through the closet and found half of her. Her clothes were gone from the bathroom drawers, things like jewelry chargers and makeup. Even I bought a bottle of fancy shampoo. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at her. Look at the dresser's empty spot then I saw where her stuff used to be. There was something on the table. There was no name on the envelope. It was just taped shut. There was divorce papers inside, but no letter, not even an apology, just papers and a sticky note. Write down the name of her lawyer on a note, and let's don't take too long with this. I didn't go to work for a few days. I thought about the money while I sat there, spent to get us out there. The work I made, the gifts in the cold basement cold, the dead stairs, the cold food. I had to pay for a room when I ran, and now divorce papers have been sent with the same care as junk mail. I didn't cry, didn't hit a wall. Something inside me just got tougher. So I called some people first. I called a lawyer. A tough guy had been there for my friend when things got tough. I told him everything during the custody battle. Said that would be different if she was cheating. Everything you have proof, I said, not yet, but I will. Then, I called a friend of mine who used to work in security guard. He owed me a favor. He was asked to look into Lucas. It took him 3 days. He called and said, Are you going to believe this? Lucas wasn't just, he was Trisha's old boyfriend, companion from college, the one she told I stalked her years ago, and broke up with her heart. It turned out they got back together. He sent me images a few months ago. You can send Instagram texts back to photos from September places. One picture caught my eye was from the same weekend I went to the funeral of a friend in Topeka, she told me. She was going to Saint to see her cousin. Not at all, Louis. She was in North Carolina, with Lucas. They took a picture in on the same weekend in front of a farm was the day she stopped calling me. I got all of the texts for 6 hours. All of the screenshots and texts on social. The picture is put up in front of the cabin. The spa ticket, I gave it all to my lawyer. He told me this was much more than just a reason to get a divorce, was weapons. The next contact came in. It was Trisha's aunt, Leslie, calling again. I believed you should understand your name has been showing up in some bad places. Family emails, Cheryl said. Telling people you tried to scare her by telling her you stole from her. House. I was shocked, Leslie said. I'm not sure, but some people might believe you. You
After
should
that
keep
call,
yourself
tell
safe.
people the truth.
They didn't just want to
I
kick me.
knew this
They
wasn't
hit
just
me.
about lazy
They
sadness anymore.
Tried to get me out
They
of their
weren't happy
lives,
only kicking me
to
down.
get rid of my good
They meant to
name.
bury me.
That's I wasn't
I remembered
going
all
to do
the
it when
time
the thought
Cheryl
came to
had
me.
said poison behind
I was going
my
to send
back.
one more
How
letter.
Trish let her go.
How they smiled, I remembered freezing while being alone. On Christmas night, they were alone in a basement. I think Trish was with her ex while she was away. Red wine and soft sheets wrapped around them. That's when I told myself, okay, let's go all the way. First thing I did, meet with my lawyer again. Turned over every single piece of proof, pictures of Trish and Lucas going back months. She tagged pictures at that vineyard spa bills from during our trip, emails from Cheryl making fun of me, Cheryl's email to Trish, telling Trish should not fall for the pity act. Printout of Trish's Facebook post, and Lucas with their hands together in front of the house. I asked him, can I use... He smiled at all of this in court. We asked for an at-fault divorce under, even though Missouri still lets it happen, adultery. In cases of proven cheating, it can dividing up Trisha's assets. Her lawyer sent me a clipped message a week later seeking to push for a quick, friendly, no-fault divorce. My lawyer emailed me back with 2. That meant we were in the finding phase. We're going to court. And she had to explain her affair, how much she spent, and even what her parents did to me while I was swearing. After 2 weeks, she hadn't replied. Given a counteroffer, they wanted to talk about a 50-50 split of the assets. I didn't blame him. I told my lawyer, hell no, moved forward. And this is where the real to get back at them. I put my own side of read the story online, not with names, not with full identities, but enough. I told it like it was. How I saved money to go see my wife's family, what they did. For Christmas, like dirt, about why my wife left, and how I later wrote that. I found out she was cheating on me like the present. I gave her mother the bed I had to sleep on, and the picture of her and Lucas at that time, house with the dates that, work for Read It. It went off thousands of replies, most of which were positive, but then a strange thing happened. It turned out that someone knew Lucas, wasn't just any ex. He was married. Man. Yes, he did. His wife lived in Charlotte. They were split up, but not officially. His soon-to-be ex-wife saw the post, reached out to me privately and backed up everything she told me Trish had talked to her a long time ago, making out to be a worried friend just to see if they were still together. This was also sent to my agent. Fallout began. Trish was dumped by her lawyer. It looks like she wasn't telling the truth. Telling them that Lucas is married, she rushed to find another lawyer. At the same time, Cheryl began to fix the problem. Someone sent me a letter from Cheryl. Letter like she was trying to look nice. Inside was an apology that wasn't very good. and telling me not to mess up other people's reputations over my own pain. So I sent her a package back inside a written copy of her own email, calling me a bother. The voicemail, where she called me an insect. A flash drive that showed pictures of Trish and Lucas during our marriage. A message from the overlap was confirmed by Lucas's wife on top of a sticky note that said, "You did this to yourself. I believed that was the end of it. But karma wasn't over yet." After a few weeks, Leslie called me again. Was mad. It turned out the rest of the whole family finally found out the whole story. Thanks to some very loud friends who saw my post online, and Cheryl found out who it was about. Cut off by her brothers. Her Christmas. No one wanted to see her at the parties. Richard Trish's dad had to step in and say sorry on behalf of his wife, but it was too late by then. Split down the middle. And Trish, she tried to work things out with Lucas, wife of Lucas, who left him didn't last 2 months, won full control of their children when she learned that he was paying child support, help, and couldn't pay for the trip. Life any longer? She dismissed him. I think she moved back in with her parents. I heard that Cheryl began to charge her rent. As for me, I got a good decision in court. The judge saw the cheating. I looked at the proof and Cheryl's texts. I left. The flat, the car, and the money I saved before I got married. Trish didn't get any of my retirement money. She had to pay her own lawyer's fees. Charged her with legal charges for, she ended up in jail for misusing marriage funds. Owe me almost $3,000 for the spa trip she took while I was being made fun of. The worst part is, not the lies, not the cheating, not the I let myself stay in the cold basement for that long. I didn't think I was the bad guy. Great. I worked too much and shut up. When I felt let down, I should have fought for myself more often. But I never didn't deserve what they did to me. I no longer feel hate for a second of it. I'm not even angry, and sometimes I feel free. That's the best way to get back at them.